Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathy Dickett. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for the Sustainable Development Division in the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development. So I'm joined here by several colleagues. Let's see, we've got Elaine Cartier, who's with C40. And then from the city, we've got Ivan Hansen. Ivan, do you want to stand up? Who's Deputy Commissioner with the Department of Fleet and Facilities Management, which is important because one of the sites he manages. And also from the Department of Planning and Development, we've got Cindy Rubik. We've got Bob McKenna. And you probably met Michael Berkshire when you checked in. So Chicago is proud to be a founding member of the C40, a global network of cities committed to addressing climate change. This past December, Mayor Emanuel hosted the North American Climate Summit, where he and mayors from around the world, many of which were C40 cities and additional cities, including Anne Hidalgo, who's pictured there with the mayor, and is also the current chair of C40. And they signed the Chicago Charter, pledging to meet the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement. Yay. Yay, cities. Mayor Emanuel also announced at that time 2 sites in Chicago that would be part of the C40 competition for reinventing cities, a global competition intended to drive carbon neutral and resilient urban development. So today we invite all of you who are developers, entrepreneurs, landscape architects, urban planners, designers, environmentalists, and I know some creative minds, to collaborate and compete for the opportunity to transform these 2 sites. Both are located about 5 miles from the city center into global examples of sustainability and resilience. So we'll go into detail on those sites, but before we do, Elaine is going to come up and explain the framework for the competition. And we're so glad that she flew in today just to do this and explain this to all of you. So let's welcome Elaine.
Hi, nice to meet you. So I'm going to give you very short presentation of the competition and where it comes from and what are the C40 objective and the city objective for this competition. And if you have more questions after, I'm very happy to answer this question. So you have already given a good presentation of what is C40. So C40 is a network of global cities that are working together to share experience, to build together some program to address the climate change. So the C40 has been created in 2005 by the former mayor of London, Ken Livingstone, and the former mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, has been as well a chair in the past. So today the mayor of C40 is Anne Hidalgo, the mayor of Paris, and the network is no more 14 cities, but it's today more than 91 cities that all across the world that work together on the climate change challenge. Just to give an idea to this competition that we have started to organize 1 year ago now, it's the main idea, so it's a very simple scheme. We try to explain the main idea of this competition. So the idea is to identify in the cities, in some cities, some sites that are underused and are ready to be sold or leased for a new development, and to bring together this site and to organize a competition with a high exposure and asking for creative mind, developer, architect to come with the idea for the redevelopment of this site. So the idea is to come with holistic proposal from the genesis to the construction, including the programming and the design of the project. So the program asks for multidisciplinary team to work together and to propose a new project for the redevelopment of this site. And the idea of the C40 and the cities is to select at the end a project who will demonstrate, innovate a new way of living, ecological way of living, and to select not the best price, but the best project that will help this city to catalyze their change toward a more ecological way of living. So just to come back a few years a few years before. The idea of the competition, the process has been already organized in Paris. It was called Reinventer Paris. And it has been organized by the city of Paris, who has identified. So Paris, this competition that has been organized in 2005 was wanted to focus on innovation, not just environmental innovation, social innovation, tech innovation. And the idea of Maya Hidalgo was to say she wanted to use the public land to catalyze the change toward a more innovative urban development in Paris, and more qualitative urban development in Paris. So the city of Paris has identified 23 sites, very different type of sites, abandoned building, empty plot, small site in the city center, a larger one in a new development area. And they bring together this site and organize this big competition, inviting creative mind to propose new projects for this site. And just to give an example of few projects that came up through this competition, and before, it has been a fantastic success, more than what the city expected. The city of Paris got more than 600 proposals for the redevelopment of these 23 sites, and with teams that came from all across the world. 30 different professions has been mobilized, 15 different nationalities participate to this competition and propose fantastic, very creative projects. So just to give a brief idea of few projects. So this one called Réalimenter Masséna, Refeed Masséna, it was an old railway station, abandoned railway station, and they proposed to extend the building with a wall wood project where the producer, the local producer, will directly meet the consumer of the city. Another project that has been quite interesting because the idea came from a neighborhood association. Actually, they create a team with a famous association who work with homeless people in Paris, with an architect and different creative people, and they propose a project of a urban farm, and combined with housing for homeless people who are going to run this place and to work in this place and collect the organic waste of the neighborhood. So typically for this site, the city of Paris didn't define anything in terms of programmation, and the idea that came up for the redevelopment of this site was very different. The city selected this project because they thought it was the project that will really fit best with the area of Paris, and as well with the objective of the city for this site. Two other competitions based on the same process has been already organized in France, called Réinventer la Seine and Réinventer the metropolitan area of the Greater Paris. So, and this time it was a multi-city competition, so not just site in Paris, but site in different cities. So Réinventer la Seine was just site along the Seine River from Paris to Le Havre, and the main focus for this competition was really about what is the new Seine, what type of new activities we can develop. The Seine River used to be a very industrial part of France, and so we have to find new activities for the redevelopment of this Seine. But what is the landscape of the Seine as well? What is the leisure and things that the people, citizens, can do along the Seine? And so the cities along the Seine proposed together some of the sites for this competition. So just two examples of projects that came up during this competition. So the first one is a site inside Paris, actually. It was an old abandoned parking along the Seine, and the team proposed to build the first service station just with clean energy of France. So they work with Total, which is a main oil company, and I think the team was almost 10 different companies, and they proposed to combine this first service station with clean energy with a logistical center where the good will come from the Seine and will be delivered by clean cars and bike in the city. Another example of a project that I think is quite innovative is a site who are in the metropolitan area of Paris, and they propose a combination of great solution, environmental solution, but one of the, I think maybe the more innovative aspect of this project is that it's a material of construction. They propose to build this new little district of the metropolitan area of Paris just with terracotta. Which is a very environmental material for construction. So after this project show, and I select this project because obviously for their environmental performance, but as well to maybe to try to give idea of project which is focused on design, but as well the innovation comes through the programming and the type of services and projects they propose for the neighborhood. So after this French competition, when Anne Hidalgo became chair of C40, she wanted to propose some program that the C40 cities can organize together, and she proposed to some of the mayors of C40 to organize together this global competition. And 19 cities decide to participate, which was much more than what we expected. So we are very, very glad. 19 cities from 14 different countries and across all the 6 continents. And this time, the focus is really innovation, but I would say focus on climate and the best environmental innovation. So if I could say, 3 main objectives. First, to reduce the emission of due to the building itself. Just to give an idea, we know that 50% of the emission from the C40 cities came from the building. So that's the main subject for this project, but as well as the example show that I have shown before, the question of the programming, new type of services, green services for the neighborhood are very important, I think, for the project, and the cities, and I think it's specifically the case for the 2 sites, the 2 fantastic sites of Chicago, are very open to the type of programming, and I think that's very interesting. So be creative, propose, think as well in terms of programmation, and I would say the innovation is important, but not innovation for innovation. The idea is really to develop projects that can be replicated in the city or in the country or even all across the world, because our main objective is really to catalyze, to accelerate this fight against climate change. So we have defined with the participating cities 10 challenge for climate, and that we propose to the bidder team to address. The bidder team don't have to address all the 10 challenge. They have to select the challenge that they think are more relevant for the site and for the city. So 3 challenges that are specifically important because they are directly linked to the carbon impact, so the carbon assessment of the project. So first, the building energy efficiency and the way of supply new type of clean energy, the materials of construction, and the circular economy approach, which are as well very important. Green mobility, so new type of services that can be proposed in the site for the neighborhood in terms of mobility, but we didn't want to limit this competition to a zero carbon competition, because we think there is a lot of different subjects, topics that are very important if we want to accelerate ecological transformation of city. So the resilience is very important. I can just to give an idea to city part of this competition is Houston, for example, in the US. For them, resilience after what happened a few months ago, it's a big subject. How they can build now, knowing that it will come back, and the flood, and the storm will come back. So they have to propose new way of building, more resilient way of building in Houston. Another example, Cape Town in South Africa is living currently the worst drought of their history. So that's another project, another problem, but as well something very important to address for the city. So the question of resilience and adaptation to climate change. New type of, and we mentioned that before, green services that thanks to this, through this site can be proposed for the city and for the neighborhood. I was reading yesterday an article about a new shopping center that just opened in Sweden with just recycled material, just recycled goods, and I think that type of project are very, very interesting. For example. Green growth and smart city, sustainable water management, which is as well a very important project, biodiversity, urban farming, urban vegetation, that's as well problematic in a lot of compact cities. And the two last challenges that we wanted to propose, which has not directly linked to the environmental performance, but we thought was very important as we want to show that compact and sustainable cities come together with inclusive and livable, enjoyable cities, is the social benefit of the program, and as well the quality, the high quality of architecture and urban design. So just to give a very short presentation on how the competition will be organized. So the competition is organized in two phases. The first phase is quite a light phase called the expression of interest. At this stage, the most important is just to give an idea of the first member of the team. And the composition of the team, and to give an outline of the project and the outline of the solution the team will propose. But at this stage, there is no drawing architecture. It's very light proposal. After this first stage, we finished the 4th of May. Each city will select three teams. For the second and final phase of this competition, and each of the three finalist teams will really detail the project, develop their project, build their business plan, explain their business plan, and propose a financial proposal for the sale or lease of the site, and they have to develop as well an environmental assessment to prove and to show the quality of the environmental solution they propose for the site. So the first phase, just to give as well an idea, so we have a website dedicated to this competition where you can find all the information about the regulation of the competition, as well the detailed requirements for each of the sites. So the first phase of the competition, the expression of interest, is built with two main documents. We have a common regulation explaining the common objective of these 19 cities, and the criteria of selection, the content of the expression of interest, and as well for each site we have built with the city what we call a site-specific requirement, where each city explain what they expect for the redevelopment of their site and some specification for their site. During the second phase, each city will develop their own regulation, so it's going to be a common template, but each city will include their own specificity in the regulation. The C40, and we have a consortium of partners who are working with us to best support the city. We'll support the city through the competition by analyzing the proposal alongside with the city, by providing some support for the mobilization campaign and that type of thing. But at the end of the process, each city will select the projects they want for their site, and will organize a legal arrangement for the transfer of the site that will lead to the implementation of the project. Just to come back to this first phase, and about the composition of the team. So there is just two mandatory criteria for the composition of the team. The team need to include at least an architect and an environmental expert. And as well, and I think it's a very important point, because it's really beyond a call for ID. The ID is really to implement the project. Today, the 23 sites that I show in Paris, they are all in phase of implementation, the 23 project. So what is important is as well the financial capacity to develop the project that the team proposed. So that's something that ECT will check from the first phase. And we encourage really to build a multidisciplinary team, including as soon as possible the future user of the site, the site operators, the neighborhood association, artists who could make the proposal more creative and innovative. I think from the experience I had from the French competition, I think it's one of the most important points. It's when you have a creative team, you have a creative project at the end. So just to give, and it's my last slide, and after Chicago will give you more detail about the two sites they have proposed in this competition. Just to give an overview of the site, because obviously we think that actor from Chicago can propose proposal in Paris, Milan, or Cape Town, or Auckland, and vice versa. So we have, this is 19 participating cities. We have 4 US cities participating in this competition. So Chicago, obviously. San Francisco proposed as well 2 sites. Houston proposed 2 sites. Portland proposed 1 site. In Canada, we have two cities participating, is Vancouver and Montreal. North America, still Mexico City as well proposed site. You have quite a lot of sites as well in Europe, in Latin America, one city in South Africa, Dubai in the Middle East, and Auckland in Oceania. So I think that's it for me.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Cindy Rubik from DPD, Department of Planning and Development at the City of Chicago. So I'm just going to go over the website a little bit more, navigating through the website. C40 created a fantastic website. It's at www.c40reinventingcities.org. And this is where you can really find all of the information for all of the sites that are participating in the competition. I'm going to go through a little bit some of the main highlights. So the regulations document can be found under the guidelines heading, which is identified in red. There's also a meetup page for anybody who's interested in just advertising their services as a consultant, or as, if you're interested in being a team member for any of the other sites. That is a good page to reference. Or if you're a developer or entrepreneur, you're looking to combine with team members, that's another good place, another good resource. There's also an events page, and that would identify today's event, for example, but also any other pre-bid meetings that are happening throughout the other cities. Okay, so to get to the regulations document, looks like this, and it's common for all sites. And you get to it from the guidelines page and the button, the green button that says the regulations document down there. And then to go to each site, you basically press the site page from the menu, and then you're directed to the map, and you just click either on the city's green button or down the list of participating cities on the right side of the menu, and you can see Chicago's right there. So once you get to Chicago's sites, we have 2 sites. Each of our sites has a site-specific regulations document, and it looks like this. And this is what explains the city's specific requirements for each of the sites. It talks about zoning issues, it talks about the type of transfer we're looking for, and the priorities that the city is looking for. And you get that on the right-hand side. There's a button you can press to click on that. There's also a data room. The data room is also very important because that's where we keep all of the reference documents, and I'll go through which reference documents we have for each of the sites in this. You can also submit questions on the website. So down below, that's where you get the questions, you fill out the question form, and those get emailed to us directly along with C40. Okay. So to actually submit, it's by midnight Universal Time, May 4th, 2018, and that's also on C40's website. For each of the sites, there's a green button, Submit a Project. So that's how you would do it. And you need to submit 3 documents: the completed bidder team form, which will be available in the data room shortly, and then the conceptual project, which has a description, very light type of concept illustrations, and then the legal and financial setup for the proposal. Oh, I have a video, about 5 minutes, that I will play.
Hello, I'm Dave Reitman, Commissioner of the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development. The City of Chicago is very pleased under Mayor Rahm Emanuel to be participating in the C40 Reinventing Cities competition, which we think will have a very profound and sustainable impact on economic and environmental health of urban areas worldwide. Chicago is known as a city of neighborhoods, so we're offering 2 unique neighborhood locations for the competition. Both are exceptional examples of the wide array of sustainable development opportunities available throughout the city, but especially on the city's west and southwest sides. The first site involves one of the largest industrial complexes ever built in Chicago. It includes 3 connected buildings that are part of the former Central Manufacturing District, which was the first planned industrial park in the United States when it was constructed 100 years ago this month. It is about 6 miles from downtown in the McKinley Park neighborhood. At the time, the buildings were part of the largest concrete structure ever built, and each could accommodate 4 fully loaded freight trains on their ground floors. They were located next to the city's famous Union Stockyards, and together they helped shape Chicago's legacy as one of the most productive industrial centers in the United States. The buildings are clad in brick and terracotta, and each contains 6 85,000 square foot floor plates, which means up to 265,000 square feet of space is available per floor. The floors are also designed to support loads of up to 300 pounds per square foot, making it one of the most substantial industrial properties anywhere in the country. Portions of the building were used by the federal government, including as a quartermaster depot that manufactured, procured, stored, and distributed provisions for the United States Army. The United States Department of Defense transferred its ownership of the building to the city in the 1970s, and they've been used for various public agencies ever since. More than $41 million in upgrades have recently been completed within the complex, and a variety of financial incentives are available for redevelopment investments. Based on their size, load-bearing capacities, and connectivity to nationwide communication networks, the site offers significant opportunities to reinforce Chicago's economy for a wide variety of traditional or new economy uses. They're also located across the street from the neighborhood namesake park, which consists of 70 acres of recreation space and lagoons for area workers and residents. We think the entire area is poised for truly transformative and sustainable investment that will resonate for decades to come. The second Chicago site being offered for the Reinventing Cities competition is on the other end of the development spectrum. It involves about 1.5 acres of vacant land in the historic East Garfield Park community, 4 miles due west of downtown. We think it's important to include this vacant land in the competition because of what it represents to the city's future. We're in the process of repurposing hundreds of vacant lots in the city for a variety of new uses, including sustainable landscape, affordable housing, parks, urban farms, commercial uses, and other sustainable projects. The site is bisected by a roadway, so each section could be developed for individual uses or as part of a larger or multi-phase project. The site is close to public transportation, schools, and other neighborhood amenities that include historic gravestones, commercial areas, and other assets that reflect a long and vibrant history. It's also near the community's namesake park, which is the largest open space amenity on the entire west side with 184 acres. Garfield Park was originally constructed in 1874 based on designs by William LeBaron Jennings, who is known as the father of the skyscraper. The landscape plan was largely influenced by the boulevards and open spaces Jennings studied while living in Paris. We think this site is ideal for affordable, carbon-neutral, multi-family housing that could become a model for the sustainable redevelopment of other disinvested neighborhoods, both in Chicago and across the United States. Both Chicago sites reflect our past as a city, as well as our opportunities. We're thrilled to participate in the competition and to join other cities to reinvent the role of urban areas on a global scale.
Okay, I'm glad we didn't have technical difficulties. All right, so I'm going to just go through the sites a little bit more in detail, but all of the information I'm going to explain today are available in the site-specific regulations document, so if you don't have to take notes or anything. We're also videotaping this, and we'll be uploading it to YouTube later. So the first site is the Pershing Road buildings at 1717 to 1819 West Pershing Road, southwest of downtown, just 6 miles. So you can see here, the site is outlined in yellow. We are offering 2 of the 3 historic 6-story buildings. So the third historic building is 1869. That has that white roof. That's been recently rehabbed by the city, and we will be keeping that for city uses. But you see how close we are to McKinley Park. We're also fairly close to the CTA station, the Orange Line. There are bike lanes that span along Pershing Road here, directly leading to McKinley Park, and obviously a lot of buses. And the site is also fairly close to the Stevenson and the Dan Ryan. So pretty easily accessible. The McKinley Park itself is, for those of you who haven't been, is fairly large, almost 70 acres, has a lagoon, a swimming pool, and an ice skating rink. So the city's preference is for bidders to propose to redevelop the entirety of the offered site, including rehabilitation of both of the 6-story buildings. We will consider phasing of the proposed redevelopment. For a phased proposal, we do have a priority, though. Our first priority is the rehabilitation of 1769, which we call the East Building, and then the middle building is 1819. That's our second priority. Any proposals to purchase only a portion of the site, such as a bid to rehabilitate just one of the 6-story buildings, would also be considered. And you'll see as I go through, after selecting a winning proposal as part of a future transfer agreement, the city would relocate any existing uses as needed. So there are a couple of uses in the buildings right now. So as you can see here, we will also want to retain, the city will also want to retain, or the developer should provide 300 parking spaces for city use. And that is because there's still going to be city employees in the building at 1869, and there's really very little parking for them. So we just want to be able to make sure that this new proposal will include that. We will also retain the private drive between 1869 and 1819, and that's shown in this photograph here. The 6-story buildings, as the video said, as the commissioner said, once served as a U.S. Army quartermaster depot. The Army continued to use the buildings until after the Vietnam War. Then the Board of Education used the buildings from 1981 to 1999, after which the site was transferred to the city of Chicago. The facades are brick, detailed with terracotta and crenellated parapets. Above the building entrances, there is a decorative emblem of an eagle with arrows and an olive branch. The exterior envelopes, as you can see in these photos, do require extensive roof, window, and masonry repairs, but great views of downtown from the rooftop, as you can see. We do have a lot more photos, both exterior and interior, on the city's, on the data room for this site, on the C40 website. But 1769 Pershing, which is the East Building, is predominantly vacant. Whereas 1819, the middle building, the upper floors are vacant, formerly used office space for the Board of Ed. The rest of the floors in that building are currently used for storage by the Board of Elections. And then again, these uses would be relocated elsewhere after a winning redevelopment proposal is negotiated with the city. Floor plans of the buildings can be found in the condition assessment report that's also in the C40 data room. Both buildings have concrete structures designed for a load of 300 pounds per square feet. Each of the buildings measures about 260 feet wide by 325 feet deep. Really good ceiling, 10.5 feet tall ceiling, 10.5 feet to 13 feet tall ceilings. So that's pretty good. Then there's the site at 1717 West Pershing. This has a parking lot and a one-story building. Obviously, the one-story building is not historic, so this whole lot could be redeveloped as new development. This is over 160 square feet. This lot would only be offered in combination with a commitment to purchase at least one or both of the historic six-story buildings. We do have a site visit scheduled for today at 2 o'clock, and we are meeting at this building, in front of this building. So anyone is welcome to join us. We will have access to all three buildings inside. The site is zoned M2-3, and it is in the 35th and Halsted TIF. Just north of the site is a residential area with small-scale residential development, and immediately south of the site is the Stockyards Industrial Corridor, which has an active manufacturing base. The city will consider proposals for the site that provide compatible uses given this existing context. We do have some established area redevelopment goals and objectives: improve the quality of life in the McKinley Park neighborhood by strengthening its business activity, taxable values, and job opportunities; reduce blighting conditions by facilitating the redevelopment of underutilized property; eliminate existing environmental contamination; and provide uses that are compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and the adjacent Stockyards Industrial Corridor. And then I'll go through, this lists out the reference documents that are available in C40's site data room. We have DPD's Greater Stockyard Neighborhood Planning Summary. We have the National Register nomination for the Central Manufacturing District. We have 2 marketing brochures published by DTZ America. There are also some floor plans in those documents. And then we have 2FM's assessment report on both 1769 and 1819 Pershing Road buildings. We have a UST removal report for 1819 West Pershing. We have Phase 1 and Phase 2 ESA reports for 1819 West Pershing. And we have our typical DPD negotiated sale application for any of those of you who are not familiar with it. So the second site is at East Garfield Park, 5 miles west of the Loop, at the corner of 5th Avenue and Kedzie. This is also well-served by transit networks, the CTA Green Line, and also close to the Eisenhower, which is just south of this site. This portion of 5th Avenue was selected for 2 reasons. 1, the severity of disinvestment it has experienced and the residents' vulnerability to chronic stresses and acute shocks that will be exacerbated by impacts of climate change and future disinvestment. And 2, the improvement in the marketability of this targeted area of East Garfield Park due to several projects and programs developed recently. So one of the programs is, before the end of the year, 29 of the roughly 170 city-owned vacant lots in this neighborhood of East Garfield Park will be sold to area residents for $1 through the city's highly successful large lot program. This is run through Kathy Diggett's shop. The new parcel owners are being encouraged to improve the lots by creating new areas for recreation, urban gardening, stormwater treatments that divert stormwater from the city's overburdened combined sewer system, and development that is allowable by Chicago's zoning code. The city has also just been awarded a grant to construct a new community orchard project and stormwater park in this area from the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. This project will help divert stormwater from the city's sewer system and provide numerous opportunities for social cohesion and quality of life improvements. The site is also located several blocks south of the Hatchery project, the renderings on the top right. And this is a new nonprofit 31-member community garden network and resident-led neighborhood market to be run year-round. The site consists of several combined vacant lots on the northeast and southeast corners of 5th and Kedzie. Altogether, these lots provide over 1.4 acres of land. Current zoning is C1-3. The intent of the competition is to develop these vacant lots to provide affordable, carbon-neutral, multifamily dwelling units. While the city's preference is for development of both corner lots for the site, bidders may also propose to reactivate only one of the corner lots. Bidders will be encouraged to suggest a typology of multifamily housing that will complement the exciting projects and programs in the area that I've just explained, and to become a model for carbon-neutral, sustainable, and resilient redevelopment of disinvested neighborhoods throughout the city. So again, we do have some documents in this site's data room as well on C40's website. We have DPD's West Side Neighborhood Planning Summary. We have the East Garfield Park Quality of Life Plan, which was published by LISC in 2005. And we have DPD's Negotiated Sale Application form as well. Before we start the Q&A, we do have index cards. I'm not sure who from the staff back there, Todd and Luis. They have index cards, so we are asking people to fill those out, and so that we have a record of what the questions were asked if we can't get to all of them. And I also, before we start the Q&A, I want to thank, we've had some excellent promotional support from the following groups. Chicago, Illinois Green Alliance, they've been very helpful as well. Landmarks Illinois and Urban Lab Institute. So have there been any questions filled out so far? Okay, great, thank you. So the first question was what criteria were used to select these sites. The sites were selected by DPD. The first site, the Pershing Road site, really we have actually been trying, the city has been trying to sell the buildings for some time already. And we're hoping this competition could elevate their profile and we could gain more interest internationally and nationally. If you come to the site visit today, you'll see, they do need some work, and also we're not really utilizing them. We can relocate those uses quite easily. For the East Garfield Park, I kind of explained that during the presentation. Because of all of the investment that we're doing and the projects that we're seeing in East Garfield Park, we wanted to kind of continue that momentum there. The next question was Garfield Park site, why not mixed income? I think that would be fine to propose mixed income. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see if I can read everyone's writing. Someone's asking for a copy of the attendee list. We'll work with C40 on that. On posting that. We did have an earlier site visit for the Pershing Road buildings, and we did post that attendee list on the data room for that site. So we'll work on that. Can any of the local agencies be engaged for this pursuit? CHA, CTA, CPS, city colleges, public libraries, etc. I don't know, Bob, do you want to answer that one? Sorry. Can any of the local agencies be engaged in this pursuit? Yeah, I'm not sure what the...
Can you explain what you mean by that?
This is Randy Josts.
So, just my question was, in developing concept, could any of the ratings be allowed to be a partner in that CHA?
Certainly.
I think it's fine to talk to any agency about whether or not they would be interested in partnering with your team. I don't see an issue with that.
Initial makeup of the team, because there was a comment about the architects, and it had to include an architect.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this question is about phase one, and maybe Hélène would be the best person to respond. It's a question about the team buildup. They wanted to understand the team makeup, elaborate on that, and the legal financial criteria, please clarify. There is actually additional information in the regulations document about this, but we'll see if Hélène can respond.
Yeah, so about the financial criteria, I think it's, first of all, there is no business plan required or financial proposal in the first phase of the competition, and it is very light proposal. So it's really when the finalist team will develop their team that they will be able to develop their business plan. And I would say each city will probably, obviously the content of the financial proposal will really depend on the type of project the team will propose. If I came back, for example, to the urban farm that has been proposed in Paris. Obviously, Paris received very different type of project for this site, and as well different type of financial proposal. For this site, for example, because it was very social project, as you have seen, the price was, I think, very symbolic. And the idea was to say the city select the best project for the city and to catalyze the innovation and here the ecological transformation. So the city will check. I would say that the size, the business plan is viable, relevant, and can be implemented. And as well, we'll check that the price proposed is aligned with the type of project proposed. So obviously, if you it's really depends on the type of project you propose. If you propose I don't know, offices and projects that the team will make money with, they have to propose a price which is aligned with the market value for this type of project for this site. If you propose a very social project, you can propose the price proposed will probably be aligned with the type of the content of this project. All the participating cities committed to select the best project and not the best price. Just to give an idea, in Paris, 2/3 of the selected projects was not the best price, and it really depends. And the city can have very different type of offer, financial offer, because it depends on the content of the project that will be proposed. I don't know if it's answered the question. I hope. Let me know.
You can also resubmit a question, obviously, after today, so through the website. So I do want to thank you, Lisa. She wrote a little index card. I don't know. I can't see where you are here. There you are. Thank you. So she's totally right. Her comment is federal historic tax credits, 20% dollar-for-dollar credit for eligible costs of qualified rehabilitation is available to the Pershing Road building site for the rehabilitation of the 2 6-story buildings. And that is true because they are contributing buildings in the National Register District. So I'm glad, and she's offering to help provide information for anybody. She's in the back seat there, wave your hand. And there have been some recent tax changes, as you all have read in the news, but she can help you navigate through that, all right? So that's one question. There was another question about TIF.
Right. So there was a question about what other TIF funds would be available for the redevelopment. And in this case, I'm looking at Pershing only because there's already a building there. The Pershing property is within a TIF, the Halsted 31st, I think, TIF. But it is a relatively older TIF at this point, so there aren't that many years left. We could potentially re-TIF the area if necessary, so we would consider TIF, but it's not our priority to do that because we would have to go through a whole other process to probably create a newer TIF. So it would be something that we would consider, but it would not be our priority to have TIF used in these projects. Thanks.
Okay, one of the other questions, can we team with international people definitely. I think that is one of the great benefits of C40 organizing this competition and having the meetup page. You can team up with anybody from anywhere. However, because it is a negotiated sale, we do intend to transfer the properties to the winning bidders. We do have some compliance requirements with MBWBE, and that is outlined in our site-specific regulations document, okay? And we obviously will need to vet the team, the winning team, through our usual city vetting process. The other question was, are 3 teams shortlisted for each site, or is it 3 teams per city? It is 3 teams per site, okay? Is there a stipend for phase 2?
So no, there is no remuneration for the finalist team. The idea is that as the team include developers and investor, we will ask, each city will ask to the finalist team to explain all the other member of the team. So the architect will be remunerated, but it's probably the representative of the team that need to pay for the work that the architect and the expert will develop in the second phase of the competition. And the first phase is very, very light at this stage.
Will there be other opportunities to tour the sites? So we haven't done a tour for the East Garfield Park sites. They're vacant, so we're kind of thinking anybody can go and take a look. For the Pershing Road buildings, this is today at 2 is actually our second site visit. We had one earlier this month. I was kind of hoping that could be it, but we probably will have another one maybe in March. We haven't made a final decision on that. If we get people requesting another site visit, then we'll do one. We are here to serve. Kathy, do you want to answer this?
Well, I can add to that one. I'm going to add this question, and then I'll get to the site visit thing. Somebody asked, are details of the Garfield Park projects underway posted on the website, and if not, will they be? So a couple things. The projects that are exciting over there right now, the hatchery project, which you saw, it's not a city project. It's being run by ICNC, which is actually runs one of the oldest manufacturing incubators in the country over in the Kinsey corridor. And we were with them when they selected the site, which is at Lake and Kedzie. And they were very excited by the energy around there. So this is going to be an expansion of their incubator focusing just on food, because there are so many local food businesses in the city right now that are trying to become larger businesses. So there's a lot of excitement there, and I would encourage you, if you're interested in that, to talk to ICNC, and Steve DeBretto is the executive director there. And then as Michael proceeds with the resilient landscape that we're doing along Fifth Avenue, those will be posted. Right now we're just in the process of getting that, all the paperwork aligned for that. And there will be community involvement and engagement as part of that, and we would anticipate that whoever works on that site would want to know what that project is doing, because there's a potential to align the structure with the landscape that he's working on. And sure, we could do a field trip over there if you wanted to get a broader sense of the community for East Garfield.
The next question is, who is on the Phase 1 and Phase 2 jury? That has not been decided yet. The submission deadline for Phase 1 is May 4th, so we were just kind of prepping all this. That is our next step, is to figure out who's on the jury. But, obviously it will be different city representatives from DPD, probably someone from 2FM, and we will be advised by C40. They will be looking at all of the submissions, and they will give us their advice on it. But ultimately, my understanding is that it's the cities who would select the 3. And then, is there a handoff from C40 to the city, and when? So we've been collaborating from the very beginning. I don't know what you mean in terms of handoff, but the winning bidder, once we go through Phase 1, and then there's 3 teams selected for the second phase, that is sometime, the winner will be selected sometime at the end of this year, Beginning of next year, actually, because I think the deadline, which hasn't been finalized yet, the deadline for the second phase will be by the end of this year. And then we will select a winning proposal and a winning bidding team beginning of next year. And then we have really the rest of the year to negotiate the actual transfer agreements and go through all the regulatory processes that we need to go through for a negotiated sale. There's the CDC. If there's zoning issues, then we have to go through all the zoning entitlements. Thank you so much for coming. Hopefully we get some exciting projects.